So next is OS top 10. So first of all, we must know what is OS. OS is an Open Web Application Security Project. It is basically a community, and it spread throughout the world, right? And it is a community which provides awareness about most critical web application security risks. So they have taken this responsibility to make all the people aware about latest threats which are coming for the web application, right? You can see the full form of this OS. This is Open Web Application. This basically it is intended for web application only, right? So what they do, they meet every year. There is the OS meeting will be held every year, or you can say every quarter, and throughout the world in different in India also, in almost all metro city their wings are there, OS community are there, and they meet every quarter or monthly or yearly, and they analyzes what are the recent security risks which are being performed on websites, right? And they issue a document, very strong document, which lists all top 10 website security threats, right? So why top 10 only? Because after every 3 to 4 years, this list will be refreshed. As soon as a new vulnerability is identified by researchers, security researchers, they recommend these security threats to be put into this list, right? So not every year, every you can say every 3 to 4 years. After every 3 to 4 years, this list will be refreshed, right? And this list is intended to give you the top 10 security risk only, right? So the latest top 10 security risk which was listed, that was in 2017, right? And these are the top 10 risks. You can say injection, broken authentication, sensitive data exposure, XML, external entity attack, broken access control, security misconfiguration, cross-site scripting, insecure deserialization, using component with known vulnerabilities, and insufficient login and monitoring. So these are the top 10 security threats which are presently in the OS top 10 list, right? So most of them I have already discussed yesterday only, like injection, cross-site scripting, this right, static data exposure, security misconfiguration. So rest of the attacks I'm going to show you, and I'm going to discuss here. So injection I have already discussed yesterday only. Injection attack occurs when the attacker is able to input untrusted data, you can say injection code, and tricking the application to execute the unintended command, right? As I have earlier shown you yesterday, that why after putting a single quote, attacker will able to complete the queries, and after that he will trick the query to get the unauthorized data, right? So not only SQL injection is there. Injection means there are some other type of injection exist also. OS command injection. So I will be demonstrating today only what is the OS command. SQL injection is basically an injection which is intended to get restricted data from SQL server, MySQL server, database server through SQL query. But this injection can be of the OS command also. Like after injecting some code, the hacker will be able to change some OS files, or make some OS or give some command to OS to perform some unwanted you can say event. You can launch on some unwanted event on the victim's computer by issuing some OS command, right? By injecting some OS command. So this is called injection. I have already discussed, and I will be demonstrating this OS command injection in today's lecture. Next is broken authentication. So what is broken authentication? It occurs when the application mismanages sessions related information, right? If sessions or cookies, you can say, sessions and cookies are basically techniques to store the user credentials so that multiple user can access same application with their different station, right? So whenever you log in on some secure website like online SBI or online banking website, a session will be created for your access, right? What is this session? Session is basically a programming variable in which your when you enter your username and password and click on login button, your username and password credential will be stored in this session, and this session variable will be running on the web server. So, and cookies is another method which is used to store the credentials, right? So oftenly you find that when you visit any website, you enter your username and password. When you will click on submit, it will ask, do you want to save this username and password? If you click on yes, then what will happen? The cookies will be stored. So it is totally dependent on the website. So if website is aligned to store the cookies, this window will appear to you to save your username and password. If some of the websites which are not aligned to store the cookies, it will be not prompted on in front of you to store your cookies and password, right? Cookies. So if you are storing your cookies on your application, hackers may take advantage of this cookies, right? And they can alter this cookies values, and they can enter some administrative, or you can say secure page, right? Suppose you have created two different cookies for faculty and student for accessing your college ERP. So what if a student is a hacker? What he will do? He will just log in through their student login ID, and he will go to the cookies stored cookies of for your website, and he will alter the cookie. After altering the cookie, he will be able to access the faculty page. I will be demonstrating this also. I will be demonstrating in today's lecture. This is so. This was the broken authentication, because user has or hackers has broken the authentication, right? And he will be able to get into someone else session, or he can steal the session data also. So after demonstrating this, it will be clear to you. So next is sensitive data exposure. So I have already demonstrated it yesterday that attackers may get the sensitive data which is put publicly open for the users in the web server, right? So it is always recommended to not to put the backup files on the web server to avoid this sensitive data. And if you are backing up this data on your web server, so make sure that this data must be in the form of encrypted text, not in the plain text. If you are storing the credit card information or password, then this information must be in the encrypted format, right? Next is XML external entity attack, right? When this external entity attack will happen, if any web application which is sending some data to their server using XML tags, right? So suppose you are playing online game, and this game is storing the highest score for each user. Whenever you are logging to play that game, it will show you that last user name. Suppose last username Amrendra has scored this much score. So this type of online gaming application mostly uses this type of XML tags to send the data to their server, right? Hackers will take advantage of this XML tags, and they will try to compromise this XML tags, right? So this is not very often; it is very rare, right? So I will also demonstrate it in the coming lectures. What is external entity attack? So if application is vulnerable to access key attack, if it will enable the users to upload some malicious XML file, or they can alter the XML tags, you can say, and they can access your server data or server information, right? So next is your broken access control, right? So it is also very interesting that is if you are using a secure website where login and logout is implemented properly, that is user after using the restricted page, if the authorized user want to log out him from this authorized page, he will click on the logout button, and he will be redirected to the welcome or home page, right? So many times when you are logged into your Gmail or Facebook, after accessing your profile, when you will click on logout button, it will redirect you to the home page of Gmail or login page of that Facebook page. So what will happen if someone has logged out and he suppose you are accessing your Facebook profile on sitting on a public lab or public system, and you have accessed your Facebook profile and you have just clicked on the logout button, and after clicking the logout button you went away, right? And you thought that I have logged out my profile. Now no one can be able to access my this profile. So after when you leave the system, some hacker will come to that system and he will click on the back button in the back button of in the web browser, and after clicking on that back button, if the browser is taking that person to the your profile page, then it is called broken access control, right? Because the logout is not properly implemented. So just I want to demonstrate what this screen is showing, that to visit any restricted page, you must have to log in through this user control. So you have to log in through this user control, or you have to put your login ID and password. So once you are inside this secured page, you can able to access any data which are available in this secured page. Once you are done with this data, now what you will do, you will click on this logout button. So now after clicking on logout button, what will happen? It will redirect to your login page. Now you are very much sure that I have logged out from the system, and now no one can access my page, because suppose you are doing this on public system. If it is your personal system, then definitely no one can access your personal system. But if you are in some laboratory, right, or you are some public use computer, then or desktop, what will happen after when you went off, some other person will come and he will see, okay, this is the login page. Definitely someone has must have logged in previously through this login page. So let me click on the back button in the web browser. They will click on back button, and then what will be happen? He will be inside the secure page. So that what it means? It means that logout is not properly implemented. So every time you are login to any website, you have to maintain the separate session for each user, right? And each time the separate session will be created for a separate user. Whenever the user will click on logout button, they have to flush out, or they have to destroy this session from their server. Otherwise, what will happen after clicking on this back button? This will redirect the unauthorized user to the secured page. So let's move further. So next is your security misconfiguration, right? So what will happen, as I already told you, that developers and IT staff are required to ensure the functionality, right? And they most of the time they do not care about the security, right? So most of the security requirements get missed unless identified by the hackers or experts, right? So these type of security threats like directory listening, weak password, default password. You are suppose you have kept admin as a username and password as a password. This is called default password. So always whenever you are using any of this type of uh, uh, security system or secure pages in your website, you must have to reset your password, or you have to change your password, right? You do not have to keep your backup files. You must have to disable this directory listing. So these all security requirements oftenly get missed. So mostly these security configurations are not being taken care by the newly skilled developers or IT managers, right? And oftenly they miss this type of security configuration in their website. So I always suggest not get your website developed by this 5,000 cost developers, right? So make it sure that they are skilled developer and they are having sufficient experience in the website security, right? So next attack is your cross-site scripting. I have already demonstrated you that cross-site scripting basically technology in which hackers will take advantage of JavaScript, right? And this, as this JavaScript is running throughout across the all platform, so they can take advantage of the JavaScript and they can upload or run any JavaScript on the victim website, right? So this is the cross-site scripting I have already discussed. Next is insecure deserialization. Right? If some of the application saving the data using their cookies on the client end side, so these cookies data are being stored in the form of object, right, and serialized object, right, and if application which rely on the to maintain their state may allow tampering the serialized data. So what attacker will do, he will change the, suppose you are storing the you have on your website you are storing the cookies, right, and you have created two different portal, one for normal user and one for administrator, right. So for normal user you are storing the cookies as a user, and you suppose you are storing the cookies as a admin. So what a normal user will do, it will just change the user text by this admin, and he will be able to access the administration or admin related pages, right. So I will be demonstrating this also in the coming lectures. Insecure deserialization, basically it is dealing with the tempering the serialized object which are being stored in the client side, right. So serialized object, example of serialized object is your cookies only, right. Cookies is an example of serialized object. So let me show you this, how this insecure deserialization occurs. Let me demonstrate you on this website. So suppose just I have created login page, just I'm going to demonstrate you how to alter this cookies, right. So suppose I have created a login page, and in this login page, if a normal user, suppose as a normal user I am logging here, Narendra, and suppose I have entered the password, and then I am submitting, it is showing that guest login is successful. What it is showing? Guest login is successful, right? But when I am entering here admin at the rate of this and password, what it is showing? It is showing that admin login is successful, right? So suppose on any website you they are prompting this login control for user, normal user. Suppose you are a normal user, and admin only is knowing that that my email ID for accessing the admin page, I have to log in through this admin at the gmail.com. Only admin is knowing, right? No other user are knowing that that is admin is having login ID admin at the gmail.com, right? Only admin is knowing the login ID. So what hacker will do? He will just try to log in as a guest. So hacker is not knowing that the admin is having admin at the gmail.com login ID, and he will try to temper the cookies. Let's temper the cookies. Suppose I'm going to just log in through this guest login at cd@gmail.com. Now I am here, guest login successful. Now I am going to temper this cookies. If this site is maintaining cookies, then how I will know that this site is maintaining cookie. So as a hacker, I am imported this cookies manager in my browser. I will click on this cookies manager. Now it will show all the cookies which are being stored in my browser, right? So it is showing that these are the cookies which are being stored in my web browser. So it is showing that CID, CPass, this type of cookies it is showing that. So let's try to take one by one. So I will double click on this cookie. So now I will, as a hacker, I am able to see that it is storing my login ID, that is ABCD at that is encoded here by %40, right? At that is encoded here by %40. So as a hacker, what I will do, I will try to temper this cookie, and I will write here admin. I will write here admin in place of my user account, user cookies, and I will save it. I will save it. Okay, close it, and I will just refresh this page. After refreshing this page, now you are able to see that after tempering the cookies, I am able to give the admin login page. Right. So developer has created different sections, one for guest login and one for admin login. If guest is login, he is redirecting him to the guest section, and if admin is login, he is redirecting to the admin section. But what hacker has done? Hacker has done using guest login, and he alters the cookies. He just write here admin and take the cookies and just refresh the page. Now the hacker is inside the admin section, right? So this is called insecure deserialization. So next vulnerability which is listed in OS top 10 is using component with known vulnerability, right? So what it is stating that, suppose I am aware about some vulnerability, right, in some previous version of any software, and I am still using that software. So this is example of using component with known vulnerability. Suppose it is well known by everyone that Windows XP is outdated and Windows XP is no more secure, right? Still, if I am using Windows XP, then I am totally vulnerable to the attack, right? So what this attack tells, if any components which is known, which is having known vulnerability, and if you are using that component in your website, it may lead to the security breach of your website, of your server, right? So these components can be a coding framework, any libraries, any vulnerable functions, network framework, etc. For example, you can say that using a vulnerable PHP version, the latest version of PHP is version 7 point, some more version has latest some 7 point, I think 1.4 latest. So if you are using previous version of PHP, suppose you are using PHP version 4, then definitely it is having some vulnerability, and your website is very much, you can say, very much available or vulnerable for hackers, right? If you are using outdated kernel versions, right? If you are using unpatched Windows, if you are using vulnerable versions of jQuery in your website. So these are the example of using component with known vulnerability. Few years back, a message was released about the Drupal framework. Drupal is basically you can say content management system, or you can say website framework, and it is being used by many websites, even government websites. Many government websites are being developed using Drupal, right? So Drupal is a web framework or a content management system to develop a website rapidly, right? So Drupal 2 to 3 years back, Drupal was infected with some known vulnerabilities, and about, you can say, 1,000 government websites which were using that version of Drupal, vulnerable version of user, they got hacked, and it was a very high crisis, and many websites which are hacked during that period, right? So Drupal has released a circular that please do not use my this version of software and get your Drupal updated. So this is why every software company are oftenly releasing some patches, and they oftenly tell their user to update your software. Every time if you are using some antiviruses, every time it is prompting you that just update it. Every time whenever you are using any Android app in your mobile, every time they are prompting just get it update. Why they are each and every time they are sending this type of update? Because they are always looking for this new type of vulnerabilities, and to patch this type of vulnerabilities and to avoid that hackers should not take advantage of this vulnerability, they releases the patch or service pack. You must have remember that if you are using Windows XP or Windows 7 or Vista, then they keep releasing service pack version 1, version 2. What is the meaning of this service pack? The meaning of that service pack, that they are patching some vulnerability and issuing some some patch version of your or you can say packages to patch this vulnerability, right? So after knowing that a particular vulnerability is present in some version of software, if you are still using that software, then you are very much vulnerable to hacking, right? So you must be getting updated with the latest software, right? Latest version of the software. Next is insufficient login and monitoring. So yesterday some participant have asked me that, sir, how I get to know that my website is got hacked? Because in some passive attacks, you never know that your website is already been hacked, right? So this is why the OS Top 10 has listed this as a high risk vulnerability in their top 10. Insufficient login and monitoring tells that you have to properly monitor your application. Each time you must have to analyze the login trails. What are the users which are accessing your website, right, on daily basis, and what are the timings, right, when they are accessing, what are the volume of data, volume of uh, uh, bandwidth they are consuming, right? So even after taking all the preventive steps, attacks still happens on your website, and you only get noticed only after this incident has happened and they have defaced your website, right? So if undetected, the attackers could have compromised the website long back and gains the persistent access of your website. This is called making the backdoor. They have made the backdoor. Suppose you are constructing some safe house, right? And in safe house there is a, suppose you have created a backdoor that in emergency I will use that backdoor, but the constructor or the you can say contractor which have made this construction or your house, he must be aware about this backdoor, right? So he can take advantage of this backdoor. So in same case is happening with website. Once attacker will get access to your website, he will create a backdoor. He will just put a small file in any of the no directory, and even after getting security testing of your website, you will not be able to identify that small code which is inside some subfolders, right? But hacker is well known about that small code. Whenever he wants to access, he will just exploit that code, and he will get an access to your website. So so to ensure this, the malicious intent of attackers get noticed beforehand, it is always essential to log all the activity and monitor all the suspicious behavior which are being happening on your website, right? So so you also have to be very careful. If you have developed your software from some third party, and if the contract is over and you are not paying any AMC, they are definitely not responsible for any attacks, right, on your software. So they can, even the developer company can exploit or create their backdoor in your application, and then get the advantage of that backdoor. So they can take advantage in many terms, like suppose for search engine optimization. In short, engine optimization is a technique in which someone can increase the hits on their website, right, and to make their rank in the Google. So suppose you have put a hyperlink on a very frequently used website. Suppose you have developed just a new website you have developed today only, and you have put a URL redirection on a very frequently used website. So in that case, whenever a user will access that frequently used website, they will be redirected to your new website, and your website will get a hit. And by doing that, you will improve your rank in the SEO. Hackers will oftenly do this type of attacks to take advantage of this type of SEO, right, or ranking, right. So you must be careful about this insufficient login and monitoring. So what are the solutions for website security threats? Right. So some common myths misnomers are there that we are using firewall, we have encrypted our data, we are having a strong intrusion detection system, we are having a small privacy policy, so now we are not having any risk of website threats. So it is totally a misnomer or myth, right? So these type of arrangement are not going to help you, right? So you cannot protect your website using firewall or data encryption, right? So if even if you have, suppose you have kept your web server in dematerialized zone, DM zone, right? So DMZ is basically dematerialized zone where no public access, public access there. You have to access the website using your port mapping, right? You have to do some network address translation. You have to map your public IP with your private IP, right? So you have performed all type of this arrangement, right? You have put your web server behind the firewall itself, right? So this firewall is not going to help you at all, right? Because you know very well that firewall was is meant for only restricting the network access, right? And if you block the ports 80 or 443 in your firewall, then no one will be able to access your website. So if you restrict this port 80 and 443, which are meant for HTTP and HTTPS, so no prospective user will access your website, right? And in that case, there is no meaning to have a website, because we own a website, or we launch a website only for information dissemination. And if you block this port, then no one can access your website, and there is no meaning to have this website, right? So it is, you can say, you have to open this 80 and 443 port in your firewall, otherwise no one can access your website. And if you enable this port 80 and 443 in your firewall, attackers will use some website security vulnerability like SQL injection, like cross-site scripting, and these all type of vulnerabilities are allowed in this 80 and 443 port, right? So now you are well aware that your firewall is not going to protect your website from this attack at all, right? You cannot prevent your website from using the firewall, because this is application layer attack, and application layer attack cannot be prevented using your firewall, right? So what is the single solution? The single solution of protecting your website is you have to get your website security audited, right? So web application security audit is a assessment process to assess the security risks which are associated with your web application or client or server application, and which are the application which are having exposure to the external or external people or through internet. So any application which are running on your system or on your server, and they are having the exposure to the internet, they are in the risk domain with this security risk, right? So website security risk is a process of assessing this type of security risk, right? It involves planning. It involves some stages like planning, information gathering, vulnerability scan, penetration testing, reporting, patching, and certification. So it is a complete, you can say, cycle, right? You can see here. So if you want to have a secure website, if you are maintaining some confidential data, customer database on your system, right? So before making your website to the live or public, you must have to audit your website security, right? Your website for security audit, and for that you have to approach some security auditor, and so anyone cannot become security auditor, right? They have to take the licenses from Government of India, right? So Government of India releases a document of licensed or impaneled security auditors. So there is a you can say organization or which is called CERT-in. I have already told you yesterday, Computer Emergency Response Team. So CERT is responsible for impanel this type of security auditors. So any company, IT company can become security auditor, but for that they have to fulfill the criteria listed by the CERT, right? So if some IT company have sufficient strength of security personnel in their company, they are having the skills, they are having certifications, then definitely they can apply for empanelment to the CERT. And once the CERT gives an empanelment, they will be in the empaneled list of auditor, And as a client, you have to approach these security auditors. Suppose you are a government organization like us, right? So if I want to get audit my security website, so I have to follow the F&R rule for purchasing or for doing any financial transaction. So as per the F&R rule, I have to get the quotations, limited quotations from the different auditors. Once I have, suppose I have received 10 quotations from different security auditors, I have to finalize the minimum one. And once I will finalize the security auditor with the lowest quote, right? And after that, I will approach to the security auditor. Then in planning phase, I have to uh, complete some documentation. Auditor will sign agreement with their client that as a client I will have to provide the access of our website to the auditor. They will exploit the vulnerability present in our website, because if this agreement will not be done, in that case the auditor may be convicted, because accessing any website or exploiting any vulnerability in any website without prior approval from the client, it will be counted as a crime as per the IT Act, right? So to avoid this type of conviction, the auditor firstly get a agreement document signed from the client, and in that agreement they will clearly list down that at which time client is allowing the auditor to access their website. So in our case, we have allowed the auditor to access our website or to exploit our website in the midnight, because in midnight we are not having our usual customer traffic. So we have allowed them to penetrate or to exploit our vulnerability in the midnight, right? So auditor will try to exploit our website in the midnight, and they get about their vulnerability present in our website. So planning involves this type of activities. After that, gathering information. In this phase, auditor will gather information about the complete infrastructure, whatever server we are, whatever server we are maintaining, what language we are using for. Suppose we are using Linux server, so I have to provide all the version of Linux, distribution of Linux, what the version of programming languages, server side scripting we are using, how much input fields are there, how much roles are there in our website. So they will auditor will provide you a scoping form, and you have to fill this scoping form. And after filling this scoping form, they will calculate the volume of work, and they will finally they will quote you the final quote. They will give you the final quote, right? And after this agreement will happen, after this order will be placed, they will start discovering the vulnerability in your website. So there are two methods for discovering the vulnerability. First is your vulnerability scan, and second is your penetration testing. So what is the difference? I will going to elaborate. So discovering vulnerability have two types of techniques. Vulnerability scan is basically automated scan, which are being performed by some vulnerability scanner. So I will give you the list of vulnerability scanner. These are the list of vulnerability scanners you can find here. Acunetics. These are the some software which are available on the internet. Some of them are paid version. Some of them are free version. And these are the automated software which are used to scan a website and to unearth the vulnerability present in that website. So Acunetics is one of the most prominent vulnerability scanner. OS, IBM Security is AppScan, Grubsuit, NetSparker. NetSparker is a proprietary software of Microsoft. AppScan is a proprietary software of IBM. Grubsuit is again proprietary software of CodeFigure company. Acunetics is a proprietary software of Acunetics company. So these are the software which are used for scanning any website, and these are automated. You do not have to be skilled, right? You do not have to be any certified ethical hacker for doing this. You can purchase this software, and you can run this. You have to just put your website URL in this software, and it will automatically crawl through your website. And after 2 or 3 hours scanning, they will generate a report, right? That report, different type of report it will generate, and it may contain some developer reports and some concise, you can say executive summary reports, and these reports will contain the different type of vulnerability which are present in your website. So another method So, apart from this automated vulnerability scanning, the another method to find the vulnerability is penetration testing. For penetration testing, you have to be very much skilled, and you have to be authorized, or you have to be certified ethical hacker, right? And whatever the techniques I am demonstrating since yesterday, they all are the part of penetration testing. I have performed SQL injection, cross-site scripting. These are the part of penetration testing technique. And attackers will try to upload malicious code. He will try to upload some SQL injection on your website to test whether your website is having this vulnerability or not. So the penetration testing is completely manual process, and many vulnerabilities which are not being covered by the automated scan, they are identified this in penetration testing. So only automated vulnerability scan is not sufficient to identify all the security vulnerabilities present in your website. This is the beginning step. Vulnerability scan is a beginning step, you can say, and it will list the major high risk vulnerability. But some of the hidden, you can say hidden or backdoor activity files are not listed by this vulnerability scan, and that is only identified by using this penetration testing. So vulnerability assessment and penetration testing is combinedly known as VAPT. It is vulnerability assessment is automated, and penetration testing is a manual process. So I was here. Yes, I was telling about this cycle of security audit. So after discovering vulnerabilities, the auditor will submit you a report, right? So it will be called as first phase report. In first phase report, they will submit different type of report. I will be showing you the different type of report. The first report is you can say executive report. Executive report is only of 1 or 2 pages, and they are intended for higher authority like the director or principal or managing director. By going through this report, they will be able to know how many risks are available in your website, how many high risk vulnerabilities, how many low risk vulnerabilities are available, to just get an idea about your website security. And for developer, they will generate a complete comprehensive report which is of 200 or 300 pages, right? In this developer report, they will tell you about the recommendation, how to patch this type of vulnerabilities, and what are the recommended lines of code which has to be implemented to patch this vulnerability. So developer report might be of 200 or 300 pages, and it is a responsibility of a website developer only to patch this vulnerability. Auditor is not going to touch your code, right? He is not going to patch the vulnerability. It is just like a doctor. Suppose you are having some viral fever, right? You go to the doctor and you ask your doctor that I am suffering from fever. Please find the reason. So he will just take your you can say pulses, right? And he will test your blood report. He will ask your blood report, and he will tell you that you are suffering from malaria or typhoid. But the doctor is not going to write any medicine. So auditor is that type of doctor. He will just let you know about the vulnerability. He will not write the patching code. He will not give you the medicine. So to cure your infection or to cure your vulnerability, it is responsibility of yourself or your developer only to patch this vulnerability, right? So whatever the charges auditor is charging, this is for only telling you the vulnerability, not for patching. Be clear, right? So after patching the vulnerabilities, listed in the first phase, developer will submit the website to the auditor for again testing, right? So after the first phase of patching, auditor will again test for the website which was submitted by the developer, and it will again try to find some new vulnerabilities, right? So you can say they are in the competition. Auditor and developer will be in the race, right? Each time the auditor will find some vulnerability, and each time developer will patch the vulnerability, right? So they will enter in the race. After 2 or 3 rounds of update, your auditor will submit a green signal that now your website is fully secure and no vulnerability is present in your website. And once the auditor will issue this green signal, he will issue a certificate to the client that now your website is fully secure. So In certification, based on the auditor report and based on the patch vulnerabilities, the auditor will issue a certificate, or you can say a seal, right? A seal for your website, that your website is now totally secure. So you can find different type of seal which the security auditors will issue. These seals mean your website is fully secure, right? Your website is fully secure, and now no hacking will be done on your website. So what will happen if still some hacking will be happen? So these security seals, or you can say security certificate, have a particular validity period, right? Suppose you purchase your product from market, right? So you must ask from the shopkeeper that what is the warranty period, right? So he will tell you that there is a warranty patch inside this device, and if you temper this warranty patch, your warranty will be void, and you will not be able to uh, claim this warranty. So same thing is with this security seal. So once the security auditor will issue a security seal for any website, so this security seal has a particular time validity period for 1 year, right? And during this one year period, if you make any changes without any prior permission from auditor, if you make any changes in the website, your warranty will be void, right? So once your website is having this type of security certification, whenever you need to change anything in your website, any module you want to change, you have to take the permission from auditor that please I need this type of changes in website. So auditor will tell you that you just make the copy of that website, to make the changes in the copy and submit it to us. We will test it again, right? We will test it again. If no vulnerability is present in the copy of website, you can replace this new website with the older one, right? And if any patch or any new component will be added, right, in the website without any prior permission, your validity will not be counted, right? And in that case, if hacking will done, auditor will not be responsible. But what is the case if you have not done any changes, right? You are also having the seal from the auditor, and still your website got hacked. In that case, the auditor will have to bear all the responsibility. So it is not always easy to become a security tester or security auditor, right? So this is all about the website security auditing or testing, right?